So 3, 2, 1. Randy Rainwater. What's happening, man?
How you doing, Steve? This was a long time coming getting here today.
Yeah, absolutely. How was the drive over?
Well, not bad. Not bad. It was, a little crazier than what I expected, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, you didn't hit too much
We had
traffic?
a guy that wasn't aware that they raised the speed limit from 55 to 75, which is 75. You're standing still on 90 anymore, So.
Yeah. So what city are you coming from?
Rockford.
And that's Rockford, and yeah, some really cool.
The
drum
tip
stuff
top
going
of
on there,
Illinois.
actually.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's a cool town. I used to go to a really great audio guy out there. You've probably been to the place before. I brought it up to you before, and I couldn't remember the name.
Mark
of it.
Peabody?
Maybe.
I know he helped your dad with the studio here. Those big speakers?
Yeah, okay, that's him. Yeah,
Mark Peabody. Great guy.
Yeah. It's great to say his name because I haven't been there for years, so I forgot his name. But
great guy.
it's great to it's something audio. What's this place called?
Well, it
again?
used to be Video Lab. Now it's something audio. I think there was not much call for the video stuff anymore.
Sure.
Fixing VCRs, and
I still have a VCR. I got one here.
but yeah,
It's working.
He's a great guy.
Nice. But yeah, you this is great to do because I know you pretty well. I mean, we've been like kind of across from each other at drum shows for 20
bumping
years.
into each other at the drum show for 10 years at least.
But I've never really sat down for too long and talked with you. It's always my dad, I'm sure, has before. But so I'm actually gonna learn a lot of cool stuff. Can I ask you some questions? It's about your past and everything.
Yeah, I just the drum show is pretty hectic to sit down and have a conversation, and
it's possible.
I'm extra ADD when I get to the drum show because there's 100 things going on that I'm trying to all take it in all at the same time.
Yeah, it's quite an environment. I really, really enjoy it, though.
Oh, I live for it.
Yeah.
I do. I literally, it's like I can miss Christmas, but I can't miss the drum show.
Sure. That's funny. Yeah, man. So maybe we can start with where'd you grow up? Man.
Rockford.
So Rockford.
I've been born and raised Rockford, Illinois. Yeah. Home of the Estwing Hammer and Mrs. Fisher's potato chips. And Cheap Trick.
Yeah, Cheap Trick for sure. And so then drums, was that like your first instrument that you got into?
Well, this is the weird thing. I kind of went kicking and screaming into being a drummer.
Okay.
If you want to call me a drummer. My brother was the musician who saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan when he was like 12 or 13 years old. And my other brother was kind of a hot rod guy, gearhead.
Nice.
So I was like always I was more into art and stuff like that. And I was never pursued playing the drums, even though my brother had a band in the basement. And I was always just like, he was a bass player and guitar player back then. And, but I was always attracted to the, watching the drummer and playing the drums. And finally, later on, I borrowed his old kit because he'd been a house drummer at a place for a few years. And I ended up borrowing his drums when I was young. And I learned just enough to, make a noise.
Yeah.
And fast forward to, I could play just a little bit. These guys asked me to be in their band.
Nice. So
I had a few cocktails at a party and got up and played drums with a punk rock band.
Okay, punk rock band.
And
like what year would this be?
Like 80s, early 80s.
Okay.
And they were like, next time our drummer throws a fit, let's get that Randy guy in our band.
Nice.
Because he was prone to, getting pissed off and throwing his sticks down and leaving. And then so the next time he quit, they let him stay quit.
Yeah.
And I became their drummer. And
that's great. So you were doing some like punk stuff.
yeah, it was just garage band,
Sure.
Stuff. And the one guy wrote
I used to
good
hang out
words.
with a lot of punks back in my high school days. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't always in tune, but it was, he kind of had cool stories in his songs.
Nice.
So
I've played in some bands like that. Yeah, it's great fun. But just the whole exercise of playing music is just such a healthy thing to do, I think, for anybody, like stress release and like punk in particular. A lot of stress release there. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I always tell everybody, I said, I was kind of awkwardly shy. I'm kind of still a shy guy in the right situation, but I'm a little more mouthy than I ever was, but I told everybody, I said, my first gig out in public at a bar, I walked in one person and walked out another.
Okay.
Because it was, as soon as somebody in the bar went, yeah, woo, when the band ended a song, that was just, it changed me. I was into it.
Nice.
And
do you remember what your band was called?
Pinewood Box.
Pinewood Box, all right.
Yeah. So we weren't really goth, but we were kind of had that vibe dark, going on long before goth. And we drove up in an old hearse.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
And
so you were doing that for a while, and then was it a long-lived band?
No, not for me. I quit after a couple of years, 3 years, and then jammed with a couple of different people, and then we kind of formed Band of the Lost.
Okay.
Around 88.
Who knows? Maybe some people.
And we're still Band of the Lost, the same guys.
Yeah. Some listeners might know about you guys, based out of Rockford.
Yeah.
And then
there's a couple probably seen us. That's about it. We're not a hard-working band.
We're got some stuff like material up that we can post a link to.
I don't know anymore. We used to have a website that had a bunch of songs on it. Every page was a different song.
Well, we'll try and find it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I should try to find it.
Yeah. Sure. I know how that is.
But I've been in some other bands since then and stuff.
Nice. That's awesome. And then, so what about the the drum bug, like collecting all that kind of stuff? How did that? You said your one of your brothers was kind of a hot rod guy.
My one brother was always working on cars and stuff, and the other one was a musician. So I kind of resisted doing that because everybody always had this. Oh, he's trying to be like his brother.
Okay.
So I never really pursued learning to play the drums until later on.
Right.
But I bought a drum set. I was just talking to your dad about Fibes drum sets. I bought a Fibes drum set that had the metal wrap on it, and the metal wrap was all screwed up. So I was like, well, I got to recover this in something. And stuff wasn't readily available back then.
Sure.
And so I covered it in this red crushed velour upholstery material.
Okay.
So it was like a red velvet drum set. And
Fife. It sounds like Fifel.
Yeah, it was yeah. Everybody remembers that drum set. And then I started looking for other stuff to kind of, But I knew enough about, antiques, if you want to call it that, or just different things. Not to, if you buy a good drum, don't wreck it. Don't peel it and do stuff like that.
So was a Fibes kit your first kit?
It was my second kit. My first kit was a Rogers kit.
Okay, cool.
And then I got that Fibes kit. Then I started finding stuff here and there, and you gotta remember this was back in the day when everything was in the newspaper.
Sure.
I'd get up in the morning and read the newspaper and
like classified ads.
Yeah, and
that was the Craigslist of the old days.
And
then it was also the eBay and the.
This was pre-eBay. This was pre-eBay, pre-Craigslist, definitely pre-Reverb.
Yeah.
And so I was up, I had to be to work at the crack of dawn, and I was already had the classified section taken out of the paper and calling about drum sets, and everybody seemed to have a drum set in their basement in the way.
Sure.
So they practically pay me to take them sometimes.
And this is like
early 80s, 80s.
The real craze didn't happen until maybe like mid 90s. That's when some stuff was like, oh, this stuff's really hard to find. And
it wasn't as widespread.
Rogers Dynasonic craze.
Yeah. But it was, everything's kind of like slowly following the path of guitars. Everybody's collecting guitars and vintage guitars, and
sure.
And then you start meeting these different guys. The drum show was a perfect place for that because you start meeting different people that are all into the same thing you're into.
So did you get to know Rob Cook from his publication originally?
No, from the drum show.
Oh, so from the drum show. So you...
he was a vendor at the very first drum show.
But Not So Modern Drummer preceded the drum show, I think, right?
No, I think the drum show was happening before that. Because last year was it would have been our 31st year.
Okay.
The 30th year was
Well, so like, what year did you first meet Rob then? What, like, that would have been the first drum show you went to?
The first drum show, a farmer that lived in Freeport,
sure,
west of Rockford, decided that he wanted to learn to play drums. And
did Rob publish Not So Modern Drummer?
No.
Who published Not So Modern Drummer?
John Aldridge.
Okay.
Started Not So Modern Drummer.
So then, Rob, how did Rob like first get? Were you part of that like first crew that got like the first drum show ever together?
Yeah.
Because I know that Not So Modern Drummer had a lot to do with. I forgot that he was the guy who published it, but that had a lot to do kind of with like the origins of the drum show, right?
I think the drum show was there before Not So Modern Drummer, though. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, because.
They did them in like hotels for a while. Joe was talking. Joe Loma was talking.
Yeah,
about
it was in like a motor lodge. It had a banquet room in the basement, and some of the guys that you still see at the show were at that show. Bunny and I had a table. Chuck Scalia was there. Rob Cook had a booth with, all his books, drum books. And
right.
The stuff that he had back then.
Yeah, he started coming out with those books a long time ago.
Yeah,
he was probably doing that before he did the drum show, but
and then
I got to get him in a podcast one of these days.
Terry Hawkins, Skins and Tins.
Sure.
That was pretty early on from them when they first bought Skins and Tins or opened Skins and Tins. That was pretty early on in there.
I don't really know like anything about Skins and Tins.
The drum shop, a real drum shop.
Where was it?
Champaign.
Oh, okay.
It closed up a year or two ago.
I've people have talked about it before, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I wonder, what year do you think it closed?
About a year or two. We bought it maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, so this is just recently.
Just recently, yeah. Because I was down there like the last week that they were open, and he was kind of getting rid of a bunch of stuff. And
yeah. But so which year was the first drum show you went to? Probably like 80.
Jeez. I'm not very good at math. 30, it'd be 32 years ago. This right about now. So,
wow. So that's I probably met you in like maybe the 90s.
Probably
this is when I was like, really really young. And then, well, yeah. So like collecting, like what was the we never even finished that part of the conversation.
Yeah, I started with that Fibes kit, and then I had another Rogers kit, a small Rogers kit that I got from a girl I worked with, and then started answering ads in the paper and buying drums, and then somehow I earned that reputation as the guy that buys drums.
Nice.
I'd answer my phone. Are you the guy that buys drums? Yeah, I'm the guy. And even the music store, they didn't want anything to do with used drum sets.
Right.
It required work to put it back together. And
so probably Ludwig was what you were after in the beginning?
I was, like any collector, you start out buying everything. Mm-hmm. So I had a pretty widespread selection of American drum sets.
Okay, so you weren't like particular to one
I had a lot of Gretch kits, a lot of Rogers kits, few Fibes kits. Some stuff came and went quick.
Sure.
Some stuff I kept, for myself.
Yeah.
Your dad got a lot of my Rogers kits and a bunch of Gretch kits from me. But you get so much stuff that you have to somehow categorize this stuff to where you have to figure out what you're going to keep and what you're going to get rid of.
Do you do a lot of organizing? Like, how's your collection?
Well, my organizing kind of comes in small spurts.
I should say this. You have one of the very large collections of, and I've never actually seen what you have, but every year you bring stuff. So for everyone listening who doesn't know you at all, that's why we're kind of going at it with.
I had a legal pad, and I started writing down drum sets that I owned, kind of making a catalog.
Sure.
And I was like, Blue Sparkle Ludwig. I got a super classic and a downbeat and a club date. And then so on and so on. Every color I could think of. Well, this tablet got tossed to the side, and my wife said one morning, she goes, I found your notebook. And I go, well, I didn't know it was lost. And she goes, you know you have 100 drum sets? And I go, no, you're not very good at math.
It's impossible.
She goes, no, but I can count. So she'd gone through this, and I probably numbered them, who knows. And
You never should have done that.
Yeah, I never should have done that. I was
the silliest thing you did.
Yeah, I screwed myself. And so she was like,
did you get in trouble?
You have 100 drum sets. And I didn't volunteer the information that there was more drum sets that weren't in that notebook.
Right, I'm not done yet.
Yeah, I didn't have all the tricks on stuff in there. I didn't have all the Green Sparkle Ludwig stuff I've got in there. I didn't have all my Radio King stuff in there. And so I was like, oh, yeah, well, I got to get rid of some stuff. I realized that, so.
How do you have it? Do you have a lot of the kits like?
Most of them are all in cases.
Oh, they're in cases. That'll keep them from getting dusty.
Yeah, wheeling and dealing drums, you end up with some cases, as you know.
Did you buy some cases from me last time? I think you might have. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We got so many. I showed you the whole. That's why we came over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I picked up that snare drum, that Rose Pearl snare drum from your dad.
Is it working out well?
I haven't even played it yet. I got to have a gig to play a drum.
Sure. Yeah. So you said you're in a band currently, right?
Sort of. We'll always be a
collective.
band. We may not play for 5 months, but we're always still a band.
Nice.
We have a social club by our house, the Lithuanian Club, and so our donation to the club is we set up in the bar every so often and play.
Nice.
So they have a fish fry. Fish fry is our opening act, and so they have a fish fry, and everybody comes down and has dinner, and then we move into the bar. Actually. Yeah, there's always nobody goes hungry, and we'll play in the bar.
Is that like a Lithuanian thing? Lots of seafood.
I don't know. It's just all the clubs, all the ethnic clubs seem to have fish fry on Friday night.
Nice. And, yeah, I'm not like a member of any kind of organization like that.
They'll have
the drum crew. I think I remember that idea.
So we'll do that in the bar once in a while, and a bunch of our friends will all come down, sit in. So it's a big, revolving stage of
nice.
Different musicians playing. A lot of hot shot guitar players and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Yeah, it's important to get out and spend time with people and play music. I remember when I did a gig after playing the last 2 years, obviously, like no one did anything for about a year. And then first time I went out and played in front of people, it was so great.
There's nothing better than the feedback and in front of a live audience. I think it's
absolutely,
like I say, it changed my whole personality.
Sure.
Because I would have never done this. Before that, I would have never been able to sit here and or go up in front of a room full of people and talk to them.
Sure.
Something like that would have just like high school.
Oral
book report,
really...
forget it. I was like, no way am I doing that.
Oh, sure.
Now, it's just like, can I get up and talk now?
That's great, man. Yeah, but like out of your shell,
Yeah, it really did. I think anything like that is important. Especially playing music.
Sure.
For kids, I get a lot of parents buying drum sets for their kids.
Okay.
They want to, they don't want to spend a fortune. And I have a lot of $300 drum sets, and they'll be like, I don't know about all that racket in the house. I don't want a drum set in the house.
Sure.
And that was one thing. My parents were always real supportive. My brother had a band playing in the basement when I was a kid growing up, and they were always real supportive of any endeavor we, took on.
That's great. Yeah.
They were always real good about that.
Lucky to have parents that can support you. Obviously, yeah, my parents were very positive about music in the house.
I would imagine. I would hope so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my brother's a bass player, and then I'm a drummer.
So you guys are the rhythm section.
Well, he's a classical musician though. So
okay.
I always try and get him to jam, but usually he doesn't want to. Every now and then we'll play a little though. It's great fun. Yeah, kind of a rarity though. We got to do it more often. Yeah, just a great way to kind of get together. Yeah, instead of like making conversation, just you can make some music and.
Yeah. Of course, I've never seen a band with two brothers in it where they didn't want to kill each other.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, they get along fine until they play in a band together. Then they want to shoot each other.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to.
Yeah,
play. He's just not even open that can of worms. Yeah, we'll be in trouble. That's funny.
Look at the Davies brothers and the Everly brothers and the Robinson brothers, and I know some brothers that play in a band together, and when they were playing in a band together, if they had guns, they'd have shot each other.
Sure. Especially if they're like going on tour or something. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Artistic differences, and must be view it a little different with your brother or something. I don't know, but I've just never seen it work out.
Yeah, family dynamics. We do have a business. Yeah, we got a family business, so
yeah,
it's probably a little similar to having a band. But yeah, did you say you guys were just local, or did you do a little bit of like touring?
No, we just play local.
Okay, it's kind of part of the local.
A couple
scene,
other bands, and we get out here and there. Not very far though.
Yeah,
we're all working guys. I got a day job, construction job.
Sure.
And I try to keep the drum hobby just a hobby.
Right.
It's everybody's always tells me I should do like this, start a drum shop.
It didn't work out. I was about to say it didn't work out so well for my father.
Well, you
didn't stay a hobby.
Yeah, your dad is the example of be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. Now he's chained to this place.
Sure.
But no, your dad's done.
He's collecting guitars now.
You
two were just talking.
Your dad is the guy, when it comes to this stuff, and but I always want to keep it a hobby, so it's something to leave the BS from the day behind and go work on a drum or go play a drum.
Right.
Where
you don't want it to become work.
I don't want to become my occupation where I got to worry about selling heads and sticks to keep the lights on.
Sure.
So I just want to collect my drums and have fun. I go to the drum show, have a few beers with my friends, and
cheers, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a nice IPA here.
Yeah, and just I try to keep a hobby in that vein,
it's
perspective, and so collecting drums. I've met some of my people that I love dearly, some of my best friends in the world. Sure. I've met through the drum hobby.
I wonder, do you remember when you met my father?
Jeez, I remember seeing your dad and Barrett Deems.
Oh, okay, with Barrett. Yeah,
sitting down, playing, trading fours at the drum show.
I remember that. I was there.
And they set up two kits in the middle of the aisle one time, and I was like, who's that old guy playing the drums? That's Barrett Deems, And I'd met Barrett before that. I knew who he was, and then I didn't know who your dad was, but they're like, oh, that's Steve Maxwell, and
you have any Rogers Dynas? Wood?
Yeah. And Barrett on his worst day was fantastic.
Yeah.
And your dad was whipping it out, and it was.
I remember that show.
Yeah.
I was really, really young then, and I was just kind of taking it all in. I didn't really even know what to think at that point.
I've got a friend that had a video camera there that day, so I just wonder if he's got a video of that or any video of it.
I've never seen one. I've seen a bunch. There's if you remember who was the guy who was like Buddy Rich's buddy? He was his friend. He was really young, and he was like the only guy that Buddy Rich would let play with his band. He came to one of the shows. Well, Dick Cully, one of his videos exists of like one of those old playing things at the shows. I've seen that one. But what you're talking about, I was there and I remember it, but I've never seen
this was
video.
Kind of an impromptu thing they put together in the middle of the aisle.
Yeah, I remember that.
'Cause I know this friend of mine's got like 30 seconds of me hamming it up in front of the camera, so I just wondered if he had any footage of that. I should ask him next time I see him.
Sure.
He's playing tonight. Maybe I'll go see his band.
Yeah.
So. But,
your collection, like, when you were like looking for, when you still are looking for stuff, but maybe like more when you first started, what were you usually out for? Because I know there's at least got to be something you were kind of.
Well, I was, it was funny throughout throughout the 80s, like every drum set was black.
Okay.
It was like you couldn't sell a drum set unless it was black.
I know.
Every
Pearl
kid
Export.
they wanted a black drum set.
Sure.
So, when you walk in and here's a sparkle drum set, and of course I was into the vintage or whatever you wanted to call it back then. It was just like I loved that stuff. I just old everything. And so I started collecting old drums, and so kind of zeroed in on the Ludwig stuff, I think. And
I know you're always right across from the Ludwig guys, and
that's that has a lot to do with Bunny being a Ludwig endorser.
Sure,
it's kind of
Bunny Carlos.
It kind of works hand in hand there, being close to Ludwig and
right. And have you known Bunny for a long time? I don't know him very well, but
30-some years. Yeah, we kind of met over. I always tell everybody when two drum collectors live in the same town, they're bound to intersect somewhere along the line. And he had a drum that I wanted to get, and somehow I got in touch with him, and then we started hunting drums together. Wow. And then shortly thereafter, the drum show came around, and him and I had a little table at the first drum show, and that guy put together the drum show to show his kits he was making. And but everybody that came to the drum show, they couldn't care less about those kits.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to get a throw off for their their Radio King snare drum or their Roger snare drum or whatever. Everybody was there for their vintage collection parts and pieces, but a lot of guys that I said to Chuck Scalia a few years ago, I said, did you ever think that 25 years ago we'd still be schlepping our stuff to a drum show doing this, and now here it is, where this will be 31 years.
Yeah.
And it's been great,
So, do you have, because you've just got lots of kind of full kits, right?
Yeah.
Mostly, and then probably have some singles. Do you have any Slingerland Aztec stuff?
I don't.
No,
I don't. I've never come across any for myself.
That's what I'm looking for the next drum shows. If you see one, let me know.
The Drugans had one.
Yeah,
here a couple years ago, and
I might remember that. Yeah.
John Dorn's probably got the nicest Aztec set I've ever seen.
Is there any 20s? Probably nowhere. Is there 20? Probably all 22.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what they made in sizes.
Well, they would have made there could be an 18 out there somewhere. But
yeah,
probably not. I'd want like a 20. That'd be cool. Like 2012, 16 would be cool. Or
I've never seen all about it. I've always seen like the 22, 12, 13, 16 kits.
It's just such a weird, quirky finich, I think.
And I don't know how well they held up.
I think those held up pretty good. They were just really abused a lot of the time, and then probably a lot of them got like spray painted,
Yeah.
Because it's
or
very
peeled, yeah.
It's very like 70s,
Yeah.
kind of
I think Slingerland really pushed the envelope on drum finishes.
They did.
As far as colors, materials, they had all the different veneers. They were way ahead of its time.
Strainers too. They could never. It's like a new strainer. There's so many different kinds of strainers.
Yeah.
Gretch was the real conservative one. Like they would just do something, and that's just what we do.
Yeah.
They still kind of are to this day. They still use that old lacquer, the nitrocellulose stuff, because they've just always used it, and it does a good job.
Hey, don't fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah.
Except for maybe their throw-offs. Maybe they should have fixed those.
Oh, you don't like the Gretch? Which one don't you like?
Well, the new one. The new one is great. You
don't like the old Tombstone Micro?
The old Gretch throw-offs. Those things were...
Yeah, they're a little...
The handles always break off, because I think that...
They're always missing, yeah.
It's the... It's like the super classic. Everybody thinks you got to tighten the snares up super tight. So then when you try to throw it on and off, you break the handle off. Because it's like goes down to like a 1032 thread.
You talking about WFL?
Yeah.
That one that kind of, it goes like a little further than the...
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like a super sensitive, but not...
It's not a parallel throw off. It's just...
Not parallel, but
the wires just go out past the end of the drum, But, so everything kind of...
Those sound kind of boxy with those a little bit, but not bad. Actually, sometimes I like boxy.
Some of those sound great.
My dad, a lot of the times, he's going for like a real sensitive sound, like kind of out towards the edges where you can really hear the distinct little double strokes. And that's why, for that application. How about you? How do you like tune for like a show if you're doing like a rock setup?
I don't know. I kind of like I've been all over the place. I've had them super tight, and I've kind of like them a little wetter, a little sloppier sound.
Okay.
anymore.
Dude,
you
like
know?
so, top head maybe a little loose. Some people take like one lug and like that's a little trick.
Yeah, everybody's got a technique, I think.
I like to put my wallet on the snare drum.
Yeah, I've seen guys do that.
That's just make sure you don't leave it there. Forget it.
Yeah.
It's a jam session or something.
Yeah, for sure. Your next guy up will clean you out.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, man, that's all. So if you're like, what's the bulk is Ludwig of your stuff, probably.
Yeah, now it is. You know, I had a lot of everything years ago.
Yeah.
I had a lot of. I still have quite a bit of Slingerland stuff, but not a crazy amount like I did.
That stuff's floating around. What name like a kind of a rare Slingerland finish that you have that would interest people?
I've got a yellow tiger kit.
Okay, those are cool.
I've got from Matt Barba.
Like 70s. It's like
really
bright, almost like Tony Williams yellow, but then with tiger black.
The black. And then I've got a red tiger.
Yeah.
Stage band that I got from Matt Barba. Matt Barba's like, between him and John Dorn, they're both the Slingerland guys.
Okay, yeah.
You know, Frank Sorrow has got the probably the best Slingerland collection, and
I like the guy who has all the emerald stuff. What's his name? The old Slingerland Radio King, made in Chicago stuff. He always used to come. I don't think he came to the last show though, but he would just have a whole booth of just all emerald green Slingerland stuff.
Oh, Mark Cooper.
Yeah.
Sea green.
Yeah, sea green.
Yeah, that's his thing. You know, the sea green pearl.
He must have worked real hard to.
Yeah, and Mark's real meticulous about his collection too. I mean, everything he's got is just absolutely beautiful.
If that were not but that's kind of the era.
Yeah.
His stuff's a little later than that, most of it, but
yeah.
Isn't that cool? Those light bulbs are the original light bulbs that were in that.
I got a few of those with the original light bulb in them. Yeah.
They still work.
Yeah.
I don't know how the thing makes it turn off and on, but kind of cool.
I think if it's something in the socket. You know, they used to have those little things you could drop in and screw a light bulb in on top of them.
Yeah.
And it would make it turn on and turn off. I don't know if it heats up and opens up a link or what it does, and then
it works forever though. Whatever it is, it works really well. That thing gets hot though, but that's kind of what it's supposed to do, because the real point of those was to, if it's really humid, it'll dry out your
keep
drum
the humidity off the calfskin heads.
It'll take it up in pitch if it goes too low. What about real old stuff like that? You got any super? I really like the Ludwig metal snares.
I got a few. I found a couple Black Beauties, and then
I like the 20s.
Ludwig Gold.
Yeah, those are really cool. Yeah, those 20s heavy brass shells.
Yeah, got a few of those. I got like 3 of the.
I like the nickel-plated ones, honestly. Sound the same.
The super sensitive, the old supers from back then. I got like 3 of those.
Like some wood ones?
No, the metal ones, the heavy metal ones with the. I think a couple of them have the snare wires under the top head.
Yeah, so back.
I don't remember what they called that model exactly.
I think to be a super sensitive, it had that.
Yeah.
To be a super, it called Ludwig Super, then it had not that, but then just the parallel strain.
Okay.
And then if it was just a standard strainer, it would be like I can't remember what that was called. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Those are my.
I felt
they
bad.
Sound
I
so
was
darn good.
doing an interview the other day, and I was just like, what the guy cornered me on, I was just like in way over my head. The history of colors, and I'm like,
oh man,
I don't know.
No one knows everything. Yeah, even
I figured, once they went from paint finishes to White Marine Pearl was probably the most accessible because they used it on all kinds of stuff back then. So I figured that was probably the first drum wrap. I didn't know.
White Marine Pearl, yeah. I think they used it on like toilet seats,
hairbrushes, and dressing table sets, and stuff,
and some guy somewhere who I guess has been forgotten by time was like, we got to put that on a drum.
Yeah, some genius.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Cooper's got a couple of banjos. He's got a banjo that matches that green drum set, and he's got a red one that matches like a rose pearl drum set. And
my dad's favorite finish has always been White Marine Pearl. What can you say that you have a favorite? Because some cats don't even.
Jeez, I don't know. I always kind of went in for the, bright colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had an emerald green Gretch Playboy kit up until a year ago.
Emerald green Gretch.
Yeah.
So what kind of lugs?
This was a Playboy set, so this had like all snare drum lugs on it. It was like a Gretch club date is what this was like. And it was emerald green.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, they had a
Never seen that before.
rose pearl Gretch color. And then they had this emerald green, which most of them you see are a stop sign kit.
That. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I actually, it's like there's ruby red, and then there was, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Emerald
I was
green,
thinking like earlier. I thought you were talking that was like a late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, early 70s, I think, yeah.
Those are cool. Those are great. We actually, I ordered a kit in ruby red that was a total, it was a 60s build essentially, so all built in with the old hardware.
Nice.
It was really cool. We sold it a little while. I think it was like a 2012-14.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great finish. Yeah. What about when you you bring any of these out? Like
I do. I bring. I just unless it's something that's really antique.
Sure.
I got scolded one day. I sent a guy a picture of my kit. It happened to be a Citrus Mod kit.
Okay.
And he's like, "You took that out to a bar and played it?" I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's a drum set. You beat on it all night with a piece of wood."
Sure.
I think
they're meant to be played.
Yeah, they're meant to be played. What's the point of collecting a bunch of stuff if you can't show it off or play it?
Right.
So I'll take out. Somebody told me one time you can't take a 30s kit out and play it. You'll wreck it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I just used a 30s kit in the studio, and then I used it at a gig the next day because it was the one closest to the door. So it went in the truck and went to the gig.
It's doing fine, yeah.
Yeah, and the sound man come up to me and told me how good that kit sounded through the PA. I had a big White Marine Pearl Radio King kit.
Like a 26 or something?
That was a 24 on that kit.
24?
Yeah, it was 24, 13, 16.
Those things are built so well.
This thing was just a great sounding kit.
Like built like an old house with like the craftsmanship almost like as if like the person who built it was building it for his own family. That's how I would describe it. Like the wood is always glued so well it doesn't come apart.
My perception of my observation has been like the Radio King kit with that kind of rough mahogany inside. The new mahogany kits, they're as smooth as this table inside, where the older kits have that rough, open, unfinished.
I wonder if they didn't like plane it before.
Well, it's just raw wood, but there's no clear coat, no paint.
Or wait, no, that's not what it is.
And then the WFL kits.
They probably lathe it now. I wonder, and maybe they didn't lathe it. Did they lathe the inside?
Oh, it's like veneer. It's just veneer. They wrap it around in layers.
Right. Well, they do that in a mold, though. Have you seen our molds?
I did see your mold. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So they first have to plane all the plies, and then there's like the old drums. The old 3-plies have a scarf joint, so it's like
for the wrap,
the long joint. Well, for the 3-plies, so the inner ply is going to be the thickest.
Sure.
And that's going to be poplar with a scarf joint, so you get like a long joint. It's not just a really thin one.
Yeah.
Then the outer plies are veneers, very thin of mahogany, and those are kind of just popped on there with a very small, tiny joint because there's so little wood. But yeah, and then maple re-rings usually.
And then the late 50s, mid to late 50s WFL kits were like the raw mahogany inside, which I think they're just the warmest, best sounding kits.
Right.
And,
they must have just slapped it on there. Because now, if they build a 3-ply drum like that, I think the last step would be to like lathe it a little bit to make sure it's perfectly round.
Oh, on the outside.
But those old drums, even the outer ply, sometimes you'll see that big seam. If it's like,
it's like the 60s Ludwig kits with that big hump on the side.
Oh, those are.
Everybody's like, oh, that drum's out of round, and it's just the scarf joint.
But don't they sound good, even though they're slightly?
No,
I find
sound fine.
On those bass drums, maybe like one lug. There will always be like one spot that's just a little funky. Tighten it up a little bit, it'll be okay.
Yeah,
because they were pumping them out so fast. They wrapped the wrap into the wood,
right?
Which probably isn't the the best idea because it expands and contracts, I think, differently with moisture.
Tell you what, it never had. Mahogany, I don't think absorbs moisture too bad. Because that's what they used to make shipping crates out of.
Oh,
I just kind of learned that on the job.
It's mold resistant too, I think.
Yeah. So
like teak wood is like.
Oh yeah, you can leave that out you can leave that on the deck every winter.
That's what they build. They used to build the decks of like ships out of.
Yeah.
But then that would probably break if you tried to make a shell out of it. I don't think we've ever done teak Craviato.
Be a tough one.
Yeah,
I don't think you could bend it.
You'd crack so many boards, it would be like prohibitive. Yeah, but it's still kind of a mahogany. You can.
Yeah.
But
you know how the new drums look inside? They're like, they're like piece of furniture. They're so smooth and
absolutely
nice
perfect. Right.
Yeah. Which I think it kind of levels out the playing field a lot for new drums versus old. I mean, there's an old drum sound and a new drum sound.
I totally agree.
My opinion,
It's like some of the stuff it'll like approach the vintage sound, but it's never quite the same.
Yeah.
For many different reasons. Yeah, you're talking about like the imperfections. I like old cymbals because of that too. They're imperfect and they were they'll have the 60s Ludwigs will always have that kind of lump on them.
Yeah.
And then the old Slingerlands, the bearing edges are very round.
Yeah.
And some old Gretches from like the 60s, they don't even have a bearing edge at all. And
or they got that backwards bearing edge, and then they're trying to get ahead on some of them is just like a nightmare. You got
like oversized.
I've literally taken bass drums into the music store and start putting heads on which one fits.
Sure.
Because there must be a little bit of difference between pinstripes and clears and coateds and stuff like that. So I'd go through a stack of heads, finding one that fit on really nice on some Gretch kits.
That's I think that Leedy was the one who invented it. It was actually George Way innovation, I think. The floating head, which just meant they want to make it a little more like a timpani, where they make the shell undersized.
Just a little undersized,
so technically, Gretches are actually what they're supposed to be. It's everyone else that's undersized, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if I would say it's supposed to be.
Because everyone does undersized shells now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, you either have to make your heads according or make your shells according,
Sure. We're talking about
wasn't Gretch? They have the Jasper shells? Jasper, wasn't that like a furniture company or something that made?
Yeah, like similar to Keller. Yeah.
Yeah,
or like a mill. I don't know if they made like finished furniture. But.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, do you like the Jasper Gretches? Do you think they sound? I think they do have kind of a vibe to them.
I built up a Gretch kit quite a few years ago now. That I had some wrap I wanted to use up, and I put all these drums together and made a kit. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I got the rack tom shell from your dad.
Okay.
So I did this 22, 13, 16 silver glass glitter kit. Well, I got to play it before I sell it.
Sure.
I still own the kit. The kit plays so good.
Are they like 90s shells?
No, older shells.
Or like 80s or 70s even?
70s or even 60s.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's all got round badges on it. So
did you do anything to the edges, or are they?
Nope.
So they're probably.
Well, some of these people are a little too fussy about. There's a fly landed on my bearing edge. I have to bring it back to the store.
Redo the whole thing.
And I mean, as a retailer, I'm sure you see it. There's like, there's sawdust inside my drum.
Sure.
And it's like, well, get a life.
Just in general, yeah, it definitely does seem that consumers nowadays really expect everything to be like laser perfect, whereas maybe a while ago, even if like something wasn't quite how you expected, you were just happy to have it. So it's like, all right, I'm not gonna make a huge fuss out of this.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's just, again, like it goes back to my, I try to keep it a hobby. I try to keep it fun. I don't want to be ripped off. Of course, everything's more expensive than it used to be. So maybe if they're spending more than they want to, so they're gonna nitpick every little.
I've had a couple people do that.
Oh yeah, there's people you're never gonna satisfy, And any drum, you could have 10 of the exact same drum, and there'll be one that sounds better than the rest, and one that sounds worse than the rest.
There's a lot of complicated physics going on there.
Yeah,
when it comes to sound of these things.
It's just. I mean, granted, the new stuff is more consistent than the old stuff.
In defense of drummers, I do understand that might be a quirk that...
There is no defense for drummers.
Don't even try.
Yeah, you're wasting your breath.
But yeah, these are a lot of my friends. So I want to say, I understand we're like keepers of the time, right? So for things to be like very well and like evenly and like done properly, like for drummers, maybe it's a quirk that more of us have than
well, there's a different
some other
it's like you can
musical sex.
I wonder if there's ever been like any kind of study where you take a bunch of people and just that don't know what instrument the other one plays.
Oh, they're thinking like,
and you start talking and hanging out and talking about hopefully not politics, but
sure,
anything, and you can go, that guy's a bass player, that guy's a drummer, that guy, that guy's got to be a singer.
I bet you could probably hit some accuracy there.
Because drummers are wired a certain way.
Sure.
And bass players are wired a certain way, it seems like.
The tough ones would be the multi-instrumentalists. Then everyone would get really... no one would be able to get those ones.
Well, you can always pick out the singer because the whole world's revolving around him.
Yeah, for sure.
Just kidding, guys.
The bass player looks, maybe the quieter one.
I was in a band where this bass player would run around with his bass.
Okay, like while you guys were playing?
Yeah, he'd have a wireless setup, and then we'd go see a band. Me and the singer went and seen a band, and here comes the bass player out on the dance floor dancing with the girls, playing his bass. And me and him look at each other and we're like, what is it with these bass players? And then there's another band that used to play in town, and the bass player was walking around, and he'd be so far away from the band, he'd be out of time with the drummer.
Oh, that's a little excessive, I think.
Oh my God, and well, the one band I was in, this guy would run out one door of the bar and run in the other door.
Showboating.
Well, one night he did that, and then a friend of mine that I play in another band with reached over and locked the door, so he was locked out of the bar. And but
all right, I'm happier now.
And playing music, to me, playing music is just like collecting drums. I was realistic about my limitations, so I never had any delusions of quitting my day job. So I just want to go out and have fun.
Sure.
Drink free beer, watch girls dance, and play music and be happy with what you just did.
Sounds like a good day to me. Yeah.
It is. It's just, nothing more satisfying than, when you get done with a set and you're like, God, that was good. That was fun,
Right on, man.
And we played a particular song one night at a gig, and this girl who was singing in that band turned around with this gigantic grin on her face, and she looked at me, and I went, that's the best we ever did that song. And she's like, that's what I was just going to say. It's moments like that make it all worth it. It's just like when you get up and you just kill it. And that's what makes it worth it. Ideally, it would be better if they handed you a big suitcase full of money, but
right. That's usually not how it works.
It's not how it works. You certainly don't go into music to get paid,
Sure. Well, so you were talking about doing some recording too. Do you do any
just on a
session
small
work?
No, I'm not that good.
Do you have your own studio? Or?
I'm a better collector than I am a player.
Sure.
No, the band I'm in, Band of the Lost, we did a CD years ago, and a couple other bands I was in.
Yeah, you gotta get me a copy.
I'll get you the best of Randy Rainwater CD.
Cool, man. I give you some.
It'll take you like 30 seconds to listen to.
I don't know if you listen to jazz ever, but
I do have one of your CDs. One of your bands.
I probably gave you an LP. Did I give you?
It was a CD. It was a CD of one.
Oh, I'm not sure what that would be.
Yeah, I got it a long time ago.
Cool.
CDs. It's just like, oh my God, I got 20,000 CDs.
That might have been was it Mr. Bonkers? That was a band.
Might have been.
Yeah, that might be what it is. Nice.
Mr. Bonkers.
Yeah, that
sounds like a puppet show.
Yeah,
hey, Mr. Bonkers.
My buddy Dave Johnson. It was his project, and I'm on drums. And it's kind of a the name tells a lot about the music. It's kind of goofy and kind of bonkers.
Well, like I say, some guys take it too serious. I don't tell you.
Sure.
I mean, I take it kind of serious. I don't want to look like an idiot up there, but some of these guys are just, it's just like these guys dating their drums. Can anybody tell me what day my drum was made on? It's just like,
sure.
I just play it. If it sounds good, keep it. If it's not, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And playing music. Go out and have fun playing music.
Right.
And that's,
hey, you looking forward to the drum show coming up here?
I live for the drum show.
How long do we have? It's going to be, how many months do we have till it's
Well,
here?
it's May 21st and 22nd.
Yeah.
So just over a month.
Yeah, it's really... Yeah, we're on this is probably one of the last cold days. You can see, you're wearing your jacket. We're over here
Oh my God,
freezing.
I hope so. I hope it's I really haven't complained about this winter
It
at
kind of
all
never
because
never ended. It just kept on going.
it just kind of drug out,
Yeah.
And
I actually don't mind the cold personally. It's
I'm not much for I don't like the inconvenience of battling snow.
yeah, that's...
My wife
I don't
loves
mind
it. When it snows,
I love
she's in
being
heaven.
shut into the house, so no one can go out. At least I used to like that before, 2 years ago. Now it doesn't feel natural. I like it if it's from snow.
Yeah.
Being shut into the house.
Well, it used to be, it's just like it was such a pain in the ass getting out of the driveway
Sure.
to get to work, and now I'm just like, I wish it would snow so I can't get out of the driveway. It's like and miss work.
I mean, if you're getting up early and it's freezing and you have to hit the ice off your car, that's why. Yeah, it makes you. It's good workout.
Yeah.
Shovel in the snow. This winter, I actually went out and shoveled a little bit, and we live in a condo right now. I'm actually about to buy a house, but we live in a condo, and so the guys who were cleaning out there, they do they take care of it. They looked at me and they were just like, "Why are you doing this?" That's just, well, I want to get a head start, and they usually would just blow the snow all into my cars, but instead I want to just pull it so I can get it.
But I have a detached. I hesitate to call it a garage because I've never put a car in it.
This is where you have your
my
collection.
workshop is, and
You must have a pretty big garage.
it's a 30 by 30 two-story garage I built about 18 years ago, and
you got some construction experience we were talking about.
yeah, a little bit. I learned a lot from my dad, and learned a lot on the job, and so that's where I escape. I gotta go out there and put a movie in or put music on and
Nice.
and sit and work on a drum or make a lamp out of something stupid. And
So do you do heavy restorations, or do you only just kind of
not
cleaning
like
and
to the extreme? I've done some stuff that I even surprised myself on a few different things, but some of these guys will take a drum that's been, underwater for 20 years and glue it back together. And
Joe Marquardt did that for me once.
Yeah.
Actually, the drum behind you.
Yeah, you were telling me that story about
that thing was floating in sewage at one point, and he I guess he just kind of
you said he injected it with
epoxy.
like a
It's
resin.
almost like he dipped it in it. Yeah, I don't know exactly how he did it. He might have painted it on over many coats. I'm not sure, but
Joe Meckler.
it's very strong.
Joe Meckler does some crazy restoration that is
Sounds
just
good,
so good, and he had a rose pearl snare drum a few years ago at the show that he sold.
Yeah.
That if you saw it before he started, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Chris Mattoon's another one that does some great restorations. These guys.
Great. Yeah, great to get these names
Jack
out there.
Lawton. I mean, Jack. He's the godfather of drum restoration.
Yeah.
And
I don't know these guys really personally too well, but definitely
I don't know if Jack's ever been to the Chicago show.
Okay. My dad's talked about him at some point.
He's a super great guy.
Or maybe it was a customer saying that it was one of his.
He used to put on did he put on the Pennsylvania show or something? I could never go to these drum shows because I was always working.
Sure.
So I was never that
Well, and you got one like right down the street.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the biggest one.
Why would I go to why would I go there when I could drive an hour to go to one? The one that has set the bar for the rest. And
so yeah, do you dig some of the stuff Ludwig's doing nowadays?
Oh, I do. I think things stagnated for so long. I think in the whole drum world for so long. Tama seemed like they always made innovations in hardware and stuff and Pearl, but it seemed like overall everything kind of stagnated for a while. But it seems like everybody's kind of pushing to, in some cases reinvent the wheel, but
sure. You know what I really liked about the, well, I'll say just in general, what I like about a company, if they kind of have like their formula and they kind of stick to their formula. Yeah. And maybe they're doing that right. Sometimes companies do that right. Sometimes they don't. Gretch is really good at doing that. Gretch has been doing some stuff the same for so long, and that's the great Gretch sound. But like every company, even like Yamaha, for example, they have like that angled grain. That's kind of their thing. Yeah. But all the old American companies, they really had their formula. Like Slingerland, stick saver hoops. Yeah. 3-ply, well, at first, but 3-ply shells. Ludwig was, when I think Ludwig, I kind of think metal snare drum. That's kind of what really comes to mind, is like no one did them as good as Ludwig. Superphonic,
nobody's ever made a better overall drum.
I'm always looking for those. You probably got like 100 of them. How many do you have?
I think I just sold Ken Anderson like 4 of them a while back.
I got to do one with him one of these days too.
Yeah, you got to get Ken in here.
Well, he's in here all the time. He just shows up randomly, so I'm like, I can't, I'm not set up right now to do that.
You want to buy a trailer load of drums?
Yeah, he always brings me like the stuff he doesn't want, the stuff he's got absolutely no use for. Ken, I don't want that either, man.
Ken dwarfs my collection.
Really? Yeah.
Ken's just got just crazy amounts of drums. He's told me one day
like 3 garages full.
How many storage facilities and everything he's got.
Yeah.
That and I'm like, Ken, you could buy any house in town for what you're paying in rent.
Yeah.
You just
rather have the drums.
You just got to stay home long enough to do it and not be driving up and down the road,
Right.
But yeah, Ken's a good guy.
Yeah, he just loves driving around and just kind of checking stuff out, picking stuff up.
He's got so many contacts.
I don't know. Yeah, people I guess probably go to him a lot. I don't know if he's got a particular way of charting his course.
When I first met Ken was one of the earliest drum shows.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting.
And I met him over the phone, and then
he's younger.
He described himself, and I the minute he walked in, I knew it was him. He's like, sure. He had like a leather jacket on, and he looked like a Viking wearing a leather jacket. And,
right. We're either being invaded, or
and that's when I first met
Vikings
Ken.
Are invading.
And he was big into Vistalites and 70s stuff back then.
Okay,
that was his thing. And but he's just buys. He's got tons of stuff. He wheels and deals too. To offset the cost. Mine, I tried to just figure out how to make the collection pay for itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your stuff. You're probably maybe a little more picky than he is when it comes to drums.
Well, I try to not
to. Rare stuff.
I try to. Different methods of thinning out the herd was, get rid of anything that's singles. Get rid of anything that's, I think I have one Japanese kit, which is a Fantasia Pearl Mercury kit, just because it looks so cool.
Some of that Japanese stuff is really cool.
And then I've got
it's not really expensive. So for those listening, if you find a really awesome old made in Japan kit that's a cool finish, just buy it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of times I used to pick those
kits
for
$200.
I used to buy them for $40.
And they don't sound great, but they have kind of their sound.
Well, I think,
in my opinion,
a big majority of kits I found years ago, like the Japanese kits, they seemed like they always had the original heads on them, which were the worst heads in the world.
Yeah.
And I got a buddy in town, Ed Bogdanis.
Yeah, I know Ed.
Yeah, Ed could play 5-gallon pails and make them sound good.
Sure.
So he's got a couple.
Oh yeah, you're picking up the stuff for him today, I believe.
I will. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just thought of that when I said that. Yeah.
Another thing, you won't want to be thinking about that when you're down here for the drum show.
But he's that guy's got some Japanese kits, cheap stencil kits that he just tweaks on them and changes heads and makes them sound fantastic. And he could play anything and make it sound good.
Yeah, those old Japanese drums, the grain a lot of the times is this way.
Yeah, there's no bending against the grain. It's all.
Yeah, and then it seems like it's like soft wood and it's.
What is it? Philippine mahogany.
Maybe that's why I'm not even sure what. Sometimes I think they're made of maybe some birch and some of that maybe, and then I always find that you can tune them up high and they sound pretty good, but if you try to tune them low and get like a real nice, I call it like consonant pitch that doesn't kind of like have like dissonant vibrations in it, wonky vibrations, I don't know what you want to call it. That's really difficult. So then you need to muffle them a lot, and then so you have a choice. Yeah. But it is a sound, and they can sound real nasty. They can have like a real kind of like visceral oomph to them.
I think that goes for any manufacturer. You could find a good one, and you could stand a chance of getting a bad one too.
Sure.
So.
What about what kind of hoops do you like to play the best of all the different companies, of all the different historic drum hoops? Like let's say on your snare, your primary.
I've got a 20s Pioneer 8-lug 6.5.
Ooh,
Pioneer that's got straight hoops on it, no flange hoops.
Yeah, those are great. I found
drum
one of those
sounds
when I was really
fantastic.
Young. Yeah, man.
It sounds great.
Have you ever seen it's like is yours like a black drum, or is it?
No, it's nickel over brass.
Nickel. I found one it's black like a Black Beauty, but then it doesn't have any engraving, and it's those are is it 6 or 8 lugs? I think 6 lug, right?
Well, no, what became the Pioneer was a 6 lug, but the early ones that were called Pioneer that had a round badge on them, were 8 lug.
I found one of those, but with I think it has like a black shell, but maybe I'm thinking wrong. What would that be?
Well, it's got a badge on it that says Pioneer.
It is a Pioneer because it says yeah.
So
those are great.
I think I have seen some of the black enameled ones.
That's what. Yeah,
it was. I think about it.
I was walking home from school when I was like maybe 13 or something, and I saw it at a garage sale. That was my first drum I ever found, and my dad still has it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. I said, "Hey, Dad, we should buy this drum." And then he drove by. He's like, "Yeah, it's not a bad one. I think we got it for probably like $25 or something."
I'll walk into the garage sale with my wife with me, and I'll walk in and I'll look over at her and give her the kind of a wide-eyed look, and there'll be a drum sitting there. And and she's like, "I've been cursed." She's like, "Why am I being punished like this?" She always says this stuff because I find another drum to buy. And she's great.
She must care for you
very
greatly.
Very supportive.
She puts up with it. Yeah.
She's found me some great drums.
She even participates in the madness.
She's probably she was one of the first females to really be known at the drum show.
Okay.
She used to come into the drum show and got to met everybody and got to know everybody and
it's rare that my mom comes, but she'll usually make it out for like one day.
Yeah, and then guys started bringing their wives and girlfriends, and you'd see it, but it wasn't all that common. But Nance and Liz Hawkins were like the two wives that were like at the drum show a lot.
Right. They were probably the first to actually like bring like a chair to sit on. I remember there were never any chairs. When I was really young, I always remember like my back would get really tired because I've never had anywhere to sit. No one would think to bring a chair in our booth. Yeah.
I bring comfy chairs.
The veterans know what to do.
Yeah.
You know that it gets really tiresome after a while.
Yeah.
I might bring these chairs next time.
About the time you bring a nice chair, you turn around, there's some guy in it.
Yeah, right. Because there's such a lack of the demand is there.
I turned around one day.
It's a faux pas, by the way, at the show. So don't don't do this if you go to Chicago Drum Show.
Some old guy sitting in my chair, and he was asleep.
Okay.
And I'm like, I turned to somebody. I go, God, I hope that guy's not. I hope he's asleep and not dead. And this guy just sat down in my chair and like fell asleep.
That's really funny. Was he okay?
Yeah, he was fine. He was just kind of sat there and just kind of closed his eyes and zoned out for a few minutes.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, who is this guy?
It's my chair.
My chair. Yeah. Don't die in my chair.
Oh man, that's funny.
Let me put some plastic on that chair before you.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know where you've been.
No, it's all good fun. We have a good time at the show. We all
and
make a lot of bad jokes and drink beer and yuck it up. And
this will probably go up pretty soon to the show. So I mean, this will go up in a week or two. So it'll be about 2 weeks out. So everyone, make sure, if you can make it out to Chicago, come to the Vintage Drum Show. It's May
21st and 22nd.
Yeah, and it'll be at
if you need any information, go to rebeats.com.
It'll be great fun. Randy will have a booth. We'll have a booth. What do you want to give anyone any like cool stuff, little previews on cool stuff you're bringing this year?
I'm bringing a couple 28-inch kits.
28, okay.
Yeah,
I think this would be really.
I think
old
Bunny's to blame for me playing big bass drums. I always thought big bass drums were so cool, And
you like 28s?
I don't play them much anymore. There's no call for them,
Are you talking about like old 40s kits? Or are you talking?
No,
about
I mean like I got like I had like a 60s blue sparkle
with a 28,
13, 16.
That's that's really strange.
I got rid of a White Marine Pearl one there a few years ago. The guy that plays Bunny in a band, in a Cheap Trick tribute band, bought it, and I've got a Champagne, cool. A Champagne 28, 12, 13, 16. And
does Bunny play big bass drums?
Not anymore.
Because I don't know too much about it. It's funny though. I always had his poster when I was growing up, because I didn't really know too much about Cheap Trick. Although I do really like one of their songs. I used to be big into skateboarding, and it was in one of the videos, the skateboarding video. It was like Black Label or something. I can't remember which company it was, but
I can't remember what that.
But yeah, it was a Cheap Trick tune.
Oh, the first two albums are my absolute favorites.
What genre would you call Cheap Trick? Because
they were kind of against the grain.
They were a little bit punk.
They were a little different. Yeah, the first album was kind of punk. Yeah, in my opinion. And
it's a cool band. Yeah.
It's a I couldn't name names of the bands I hated because I didn't want to offend a couple guys I knew, but I talked about all these bands that I was just like when I was a freshman in high school that I was like, oh God, this shit sucks. And then Cheap Trick in color, somebody put that in the 8-track player.
Okay.
And I was like, this is the coolest record I've ever heard.
Nice.
And
so you were into them real.
That's when Cheap Trick, the second album in color, came out.
This is way well before you met Bunny. So.
Yeah, long before I met Bunny. I didn't even know they were from Rockford at that point. I just like, who's this band, Cheap Trick? And,
nice. You two probably. Well, is Bunny originally from there, or did he?
Yeah.
Maybe, you guys grew up in similar circumstances.
A few years later, what was it? Dream Police, or one of the albums came out.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, who has this he has a different sense of humor.
Okay.
And, but he starts talking about, I went to high school with these guys, like that. Yeah, this guy, this guy and that guy. Well, I didn't go to school with all of them. Three of them. The other one went to a different high school. And I thought he was just setting me up for one of his jokes.
Sure.
And then come to find out he went to high school with them.
Yeah.
And I thought he was just setting me up to zing me. And then like years later, I met Bunny and met the band and stuff. And
nice. So that was that at one of the drum shows, or was that?
No, I was just through local friends, and like I say, chasing drums together.
Right. And his Bunny's collection. He's got his video. There's like videos up on YouTube of most of his stuff.
He's thinned out the herd quite a bit.
He likes the really rare Ludwig finishes.
Oh, he's like
that's what it seems like.
Just examples of some of the greatest finishes.
Yeah.
Like 20 snare drums and stuff. It was just amazing. Some of the stuff he had and some of the kits he had.
Yeah.
And me, I'm just kind of like whatever I luck into.
Sure.
And but he had some just. It was just like it was breathtaking to go in his building where he had all of his collection. He had it all on display too, which was nice.
I should ask you. You don't happen to have a Slingerland Silver Sparkle floor tom you'd like to sell?
I do not.
All right, worth a try.
I do not. I have had them in the past, but no, I
right.
don't anymore.
It does. I have you know the ones that they made. They're 12 by 20, and then 9 by 13.
Wow.
And it's a double lug. It's not a center lug. So it's
I
not like a student drum. It's like their version of the New Yorker, the Ludwig New Yorker.
I had a green sparkle.
No
of course,
floor
it was
tom.
faded to like yellow, but it was a
That's a cool. I like green sparkle.
11 or 12. I don't think it was 12. That was the weird thing. It was like 11 by 20 with an 8 by 12 and a
Maybe that's what this is.
like a 5 by 13 snare
You know,
drum.
I think that they probably just used like a marching drum they had, so maybe those are like a little bit smaller, just so
Could
you
be.
can easily like wield them.
could be, yeah.
That's interesting.
I found that in Colorado Springs one time and had it shipped back.
Yeah. Green sparkle is a cool finish. The first, like I think it would technically be the first kit I ever sold at Maxwell Drums when we were downtown. This guy would probably not believe that I remember this, but it was a green sparkle Slingerland 22, 13, 16, I think with a matching snare even. And it was just to some guy that was like not much older than me. I think he was younger than me. He just came into the shop and I sold it to him.
Cool.
That would be
first time I ever seen John Bonham playing a green sparkle kit.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that's green. That kit's green sparkle, you know? And then
So that'd be one of your favorite finishes.
it is one of my favorite finishes. And then I saw Brad Elvis in the Elvis Brothers.
Okay.
He had this big green sparkle Slingerland set.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a green sparkle kit, you know, another green sparkle kit, you know? And I was just like, that's the coolest ever.
It's a cool finish.
Now I've got a basement full of green sparkle drums.
Yeah, they're a little bit hard to find too. Yeah, it's less common than like red.
It's
red or blue.
definitely hard to find one that's got good color.
What's like maybe the rarest green sparkle thing you got? You got maybe like, you know what? I had a tone flange. Slingerland tone flange in green sparkle.
Never had one of those.
I
just got
sold
a lot
that
of,
thing
lot of
for
60s.
like $800. I should have kept it.
Mostly 60s stuff. I've got like I got a really super nice 2012-14 club date kit. And I've got a 22-13-14 club date kit that are both like just beautiful color.
Nice.
And a lot of them different various shades of fade.
Sure.
A lot of 70s stuff. Seemed like the 70s stuff didn't fade as bad as the 60s stuff.
All right, do you green can come in glitter or sparkle?
Yeah.
Do you like one better than the other? I'm kind of a glitter guy myself.
Yeah, I am too. Like I think if I'm not mistaken, some of the Slingerland stuff was glitter back then. But the WFL, I got some WFL green.
Isn't glass actually glass? And then the sparkles are plastic.
Yeah, it's like
plastic hexagons.
little hexagons. Yeah.
And for those who are listening, that's the difference. If it's a glitter, this is something that, and they'll look almost the same. So if you buy a drum set and one has little tiny hexagons in it, and then the other one's got kind of randomized little pieces,
little chips, little ground bits of glass.
I feel like the glass like catches the light a little better.
It does. We were just talking about that yesterday. Was how good it looks when the light hits it.
Yeah.
Like the Gretch kit I mentioned with the silver glass glitter. It's just like when the light hits it, it's like, God, that kit's beautiful.
Yeah, man. And it doesn't seem like Gretch didn't seem to differentiate. Like sometimes it would be a sparkle, sometimes it would be a glitter.
I think everybody,
because Camco was always sparkle. There's one. Camco's always a sparkle. There's always have a black backing. You know what I mean? Except maybe the silver sparkle, but I think even
I never come across, back living in this area, I've never come across
Camco stuff.
Yeah,
Joe got it all. he
Yeah,
bought all of it.
Or Carl Woldman.
Oh, Carl
Woldman had like a basement full of the stuff years ago before I even knew what it was. I
didn't know Carl had a big Camco collection.
Oh, he did years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a slew of that stuff.
I know him really well too. He never talked about it.
Well, I think he had to sell them all.
Oh yeah.
I think he had some medical issues and he had to sell them all.
I wonder how he's doing.
I haven't talked to him for a long time. I should give him a call.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of sentimental lately. I'm starting to call people that I haven't talked to in a long time.
I do that all the time. People are like, why are you calling me?
Well,
I just want to say hi, man.
Somebody's got to make the first step.
Sure.
Is to make that reach out and call your friend that you. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna call you. Yeah, me too. I'm guilty as anybody. And
right.
There's a friend of mine that I met through the drum show that lives down in the Quad Cities. And I couldn't remember his name. This was this morning now.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through my phone, looking through Facebook, and kind of putting two and two together. And finally, I figured it out. And
it's always a nice.
It was on the tip
feeling.
of my tongue, and I couldn't get it out. And
it's a release when you finally find the name. Oh,
yeah, I don't have to wake up at 2:00 in the morning fretting about why can't I remember that guy's name. But no, it's. I met a lot of good friends, but like I say, I never get to see this guy. So,
yeah, is he going to come out to the next show? You think? Did you get a hold of him?
He comes every 3-4 years. It seems like he drives up from East Moline, so it's a bit of a haul for him.
Yeah, it's the international crowd is like gone now.
Well, I think they're in this year. The Japanese are gonna.
That's great.
That's what I heard. They're gonna be there this year. Sounds if Yorma comes.
Some of our friends from Britain too.
Yeah.
Miss them.
It'd be nice if Dave Brown showed up. And years ago, God, it was years ago, like when John Good was still alive, and Gary Alcock would show up, and
yeah,
I think they're just getting too old to do it.
Sure.
Unfortunately, John passed away, but Gary's. We all used to get together and go to dinner, and they were great guys. I met some of my favorite people through the drum show.
Yeah,
I really have. I've got good friends. They say by a certain age, if you have a couple good friends, you're lucky. Well, I have a group of good friends in town, and I have a group of good friends through the drum show.
Yeah, man.
We've stayed at each other's houses. We're always there for each other.
Yeah,
and I've met great people through this. Of course, I met some assholes too. We kind of weeded those guys out. And so,
yeah, as time goes on, and then like maybe one drum show you'll get in a fight with somebody, and then the next drum show it'll be forgotten.
I've never really been in a fight with anybody or an argument with anybody. Rob had to throw a guy out one year.
Oh man, that must have been pretty.
Well, it's just
a
big volume issue.
Volume?
Yeah.
Just playing too much. Oh, okay.
Ask your dad about that. You could light a cigarette off your dad's forehead. He was so mad that day.
Oh, really?
And these guys just wouldn't. Sat and wailed on this kit all day long, demoing it for people walking by.
That wasn't the show where they were like right behind us.
Yes.
Was it? Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
You can't. How can you forget that?
It was just before we left St. Charles.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. That would have been one of the, because like I didn't work at the shop for a long time.
That was like 14 or 15.
Yeah, that would have been like one of the first shows where I had returned, maybe the second one where I had started working at the shop again.
Yeah, and then I ran into that guy in Nashville.
Yeah?
I was in the restroom.
So it was like his booth, essentially.
Yeah,
we won't say the name.
He had a booth at George Lawrence's. I can't even remember it. He's a good guy. I told him, I said, all you had to done is humble yourself for 2 seconds.
He was just trying to demo his stuff.
And he was.
There was something special about either. I remember this. And yeah, it was just. Yeah, just like let everyone try it out over and over and over again. We couldn't hear yourself.
There's a few guys like that.
That bass drum crap doesn't even really bother me that much. The thing that always really bothered me was when you're just walking down and someone does one of those like crazy loud rim shots, almost to try and like hurt your like and because your ears don't have time to close up, and it's just like, come on, man.
It's like going in Guitar Center.
Yeah.
And the kids are in there playing drum sets. And it's like, there was a kid playing some custom kit at the show one year. And I was like, I had to walk over and tell him to keep it down a little bit. And I go, I turned to these guys, I go, who the hell plays like that?
Yeah.
And one guy goes, nobody if they want to get paid at the end of the night. Because I was just like, nobody plays like that.
I remember when I was really young going to the drum show, and I always wanted to play stuff so bad. It's actually kind of like a discipline. You have to really discipline yourself not to. Because if you sit down and really start going, it's like, it's just, yeah, you know.
Well, I'm not a whip it out guy anyway. You know,
Sure.
I'll sit down and play time,
Yeah.
and just kind of hit the toms to hear how they sound.
A little test out is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, some guys they're auditioning for Dream Theater or something,
Right.
And
it's you already heard him do it, so why do you? Okay, you want to get the feel of the drum. Okay, hit it one time.
Well,
all right, you're still going. Okay, I guess we're having a jam session now.
There was a booth there a few years ago where this guy got up and thought he was hot shit on this drum set.
Yeah.
And then some little old guy comes walking up and sits down and like does it 100 times better. And the first guy just couldn't let it lay. He had to go up and do it again, which still wasn't as good as the other guy. And the other guy was like, looked like he just kind of like wandered in off the street. The guy was absolutely killer.
Yeah.
And just sat down and just like took that guy to school.
Just short and sweet. Yeah.
I was just like, jeez. And then the first guy comes back and tries to do it again. And I was just like, God, doesn't this guy learn from anything? But some of the guys are the pretty unassuming guys that just blow you away.
Yeah, for sure. You never know. It's always the quiet ones.
Yeah. Unlike myself, you know, I'm not going to blow anybody away. I might offend them, but I'm not going to blow them away.
I don't think I've ever seen you play. That's why I'd love to.
You haven't missed
hear.
anything, really. You know?
No, I'm sure.
I do a mean great. Mustang Sally. You know?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different types of drummers. There's people who specialize in soloing, you know, in front of and then there's people who really specialize in feel and being the backbone of a rhythm and blues band or something, you know.
Yeah, I think the younger you are, the busier you play, and then as you kind of figure out you don't need all that stuff, you know. And
jazz musicians, where do they fall in? Yeah. They're very busy players, but it's just
play them
style.
Yeah,
so.
they play their brains out for 3 hours a night and make $40 at the end of the night.
Yeah. Rock musicians play 3 chords for a million people, and then jazz musicians play a million chords for 9
people. Yeah.
That's
what I said that to a friend of mine one time. I said, you know, a shitty rock band will make more money than a good jazz band, unfortunately. Sure. And I'm not dissing jazz guys, but it's just it's not
different types of jazz too. I mean,
oh yeah,
and yeah, but yeah, you know, that's a whole can of worms. I could talk about this for hours, but some of my favorite jazz drummers actually play pretty minimalistically. And whenever I listen to myself play, whenever I get real busy, a lot of the times it's just you're not helping the music.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly you're doing, but every now and then you'll play some real busy stuff that comes across great. But almost always, I always find
I think no matter what kind of music you're playing, it comes down to taste.
Yeah.
Having play to the song. It's not, you know, everybody likes to get up and goof.
Hey, rock, there's prog rock stuff that's real.
Oh, that stuff. I can't even fathom some of that stuff those guys do.
Sure.
You know, it's just it's like to go watch clinics and, you know, to watch Todd Zuckerman is just it takes your breath away. He's so good.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even name
and
some.
It's just
some guys
I can't even begin to fathom what he's doing.
He's one
but
of your
he's just
favorites?
doing it so good. You know?
Yeah.
And
who are some other guys that you dig?
You know,
Chops monsters.
You know, Matt Cameron is one guy that I always kind of refer back to. The guy from Soundgarden.
I like Clayton Cameron.
Yeah,
but I don't know Matt Cameron.
Yeah. If you want a lesson in playing brushes, Clayton Cameron is the guy. Yeah, but
I think I had 2 posters growing up, and funny enough, one was Bunny and one was Clayton Cameron. Those were in my room at one point.
But Matt Cameron was one of these guys that's just you think he's just playing time, but he's doing something that's what's he doing there? You know, and then he'll whip something out, and your jaw will just hit the floor when that guy.
You said Soundgarden?
Yeah, Soundgarden, now Pearl Jam, and the guy is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, I was never diehard Rush fan. You know, everybody was like, "Oh, you're a drummer. You must love Neil Peart." And I'm like, "Peart, sorry guys." And but but it was just never that music was never my cup of tea. I was more of a Led Zeppelin guy. Bonham.
Okay.
I was always a Bonham guy.
Bonham's pretty awesome. You know, I really like Mitch Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
He's probably my favorite rock drummer, just straight. And when I play rock, I like to kind of do it a little like that.
yeah. That's
Power and a little loose.
Yeah.
He was almost like a he very much bridges the gap, I think, between like jazz and rock a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, my brother was a heavily influenced by Cream back in his day when he was playing in bands in our basement.
Sure.
So I got to listen to a lot of Cream and a lot of that stuff when I was a little kid.
Nice.
And so it's just like, and the drums in that stuff were always stood out too, because it was always so much different than the majority. It was different than listening to the Beatles. Not that I didn't like it, but it was just like, it was so different.
Yeah.
And I always loved listening to the Beatles, you know. It's just something to be said for playing to the song, you know. Everybody's like, well, Ringo, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, well, try to do it that good, you know.
Yeah, the Beatles, it's like more like through composed stuff, a little less jammy. Well, not all the stuff, but like Ringo, like maybe he's even a little bit more like a percussionist. He approaches it. You know, he does like a very, very minimal but essential little tom fill.
Yeah.
And even though, anyone could do that, but he did do that.
Yeah. I was saying anybody
can
can imitate it. Well, you just got to do it. You know?
I like Ringo. I went through like a real jazz phase where I was just like, I'm not into that stuff so much. But later on, definitely, because it's just,
I don't know enough about jazz to say, somebody made me a tape one time of Joe Morello.
Okay.
All that stuff. And I was just blown away. It was probably the reason I do listen to some of that stuff.
Sure.
Was listening to Joe Morello play.
Yeah.
And then another friend of mine was the guy that wrote the Shelly Manne book.
Oh, yeah.
And
Shelly Manne's one of my favorite drummers.
You listen to some of that stuff,
tasty.
and it's like, God, this guy,
Yeah, that stuff just swings so hard, yeah.
And, I'm probably guilty of not paying attention to who's playing on what.
Those guys are both very light. So some jazz guys these days, they have like this insane coordination, but they're just, when they're like comping on the snare drum, they're just hitting it so hard, you're almost not even supposed to be able to hear the snare drum comping. It's really about the cymbal in jazz, I'm serious. Yeah, like it'd be like if, they keep throwing rhythmic ideas into it.
I just,
you know what I mean?
I watched
rock. The snare drum's a little more front and center, but jazz is supposed to be kind of a little behind most of the time.
I was watching Fred Armisen's Comedy for Drummers last night.
That stuff's great.
I saw it when it came out.
He's a customer. He's a customer.
I just saw that again last night.
Yeah.
And when he talks about going to see a jazz band, and he just does this whole thing on the cymbal, and then every so often drops a snare beat in there, and I just started laughing. But yeah, that's who they should get at the drum show.
Fred Armisen?
They should get Fred Armisen to get up and do like
he'd be
half an hour of that.
He's a good drummer too.
And he's a good drummer, yeah.
He actually came to the New York shop, and they did a walkthrough, him and the girl from Portlandia. That silly kind of like
he's a genius. He's like he's in that category with Martin Short.
Yeah.
Martin Short is nothing short of genius to me.
Yeah.
And Fred Armisen's right there with him. There's Fred Armisen's characters and Fred Armisen's style of humor and stuff is just like, I love that guy.
It seems like probably one of his great skills is the ability not to laugh. Like to keep a straight face.
Yeah,
when
he
he's
keeps
doing
that deadpan
these
look.
characters.
Yeah, he's not the guy that he's not like Jimmy Fallon where he breaks up in every.
He probably
skit.
like meditates to be able to get that level of control over. But he's great.
Yeah, Portlandia, what a riot.
Yeah, have you ever been to Portland?
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there, but it seems like it's.
I got a bunch of friends out there, and
it's quite a place.
And
the '90s never died in Portland.
Yeah, want to go out there. Go to Revival.
Yeah. There are friends. We always like kind of. Sometimes we'll buy stuff from them.
Jose is a great guy.
Absolutely.
He's just one of the nicest guys you ever wanted to meet. And
they'll probably come to the show this year. Maybe they didn't last year.
He didn't last year.
I hope they come.
He came in a couple years ago, I know.
It's a hike for them, yeah.
Yeah. Because if he's coming on a buying trip, then they got to drive it. Otherwise, he's just flying.
Got a whole big mountain range to go over. That'd be a beautiful drive after you got. Actually, I want to do that someday. That would be a fun drive, Chicago to Portland.
That's what I'm sneaking up on retirement here. The gold ring just keeps getting farther and farther away. I was just like, I'm going to retire at the end of the month. Oh, we got this job to do next month. It's moved out to next month and the month after. And like out of some absurd loyalty, I'm sticking around. And my company's been good to me, so I can't complain.
Sure.
But retire and get to do this.
What are you thinking? How many more years do you think?
Oh, there's no years.
Oh wow! So you're like, you're ready to go.
I'm right there. Yeah, and
you're looking forward to it.
So like driving out to Portland.
Busy. Make sure to keep busy. You gotta do stuff.
I live in a 120-year-old house. There's always something to do.
Oh, that's great. Is it like prairie style or?
It is prairie style, but it's big. It's not like a bungalow.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's bigger and
like those 2-story. It's like a big square kind of.
2-story, yeah. We got no kids and we have 5 bedrooms. So
Jeez. that kind of house is kind of. I recently just drove from here to Peoria. It was a thing that my wife was doing out there, and we stayed in a hotel. It was great, but it's so cool when you drive through the country, and you can see the really old ones are kind of like colonial revival, I think they call them.
Okay.
And then but then the ones that were made like kind of your age house, they're all those big, beautiful prairie houses, man. Those would be.
They talk about.
I hope I can buy one of those one of these days in the Chicago area. Good luck. It's gonna be like $5 million.
Buy any house.
I know. I'm looking right now. Everything's so expensive.
I always date our house 1906, because they talk about the guy that owned a couple men's clothing stores and helped start the Park District and all that.
Sure.
Moved to Rockford, built a house on Corey's Bluff. Okay. And that's our house.
So like a little bit of the family history.
Yeah, some of the history.
That's great. Good, probably beautiful like woodwork all over it.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to.
Couldn't afford to make them like they used to,
Yeah.
Except for some of the codes, so the house doesn't settle and bend all out of shape like they used to.
Yeah, it seems like we just have like completely different priorities nowadays. But I guess if you were to build a house completely the way they did in like 1905, it would probably cost like maybe double what.
Oh, jeez.
And then
it's doable, but. Yeah, it's
didn't they like not have insulation back then? It would be like kind of just a wall and then air and then another wall. Yeah, does your place have like plaster and then?
Oh, it had wood lath and plaster. And I stripped the living room out about 4 years ago and gutted it and put it all back together. And
did you do plaster again, or did you just do?
We just did drywall in the living. And I come home from a gig, the most humid day of the year.
Yeah.
And a big patch of the old plaster fell down from the ceiling. And I was just like, oh,
jeez.
And ended up gutting the living room and putting it all back together. And
it's probably a lot of work, but it's probably kind of
it's
really
rewarding.
Good feeling.
I spent too many years goofing off playing in bar bands. I should have been working on my house.
Sure. Well, hey, as long as you keep busy, because if you gotta have purpose.
I keep busy. That's one thing that's up.
Yeah.
There may not be any payoff at the end of it, but I always keep busy building something stupid or.
Sure. Do you have a lot of tools over there?
Oh yeah, I was buying some tool at a garage sale or an estate sale one day, and the guy goes, "What is that?" I go, "I don't know, but I don't have one." Like sure. That, and he laughed. And
that's funny. Hey, you probably got some you got like a whole woodworking shop?
No, I don't have. I've had stuff offered to me for nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't have room to house it all.
Too many drums.
Yeah.
Spot's taken already.
Yeah. I mean, I got more industrial tools. I do more more of that, weld stuff together. I do a little welding sculpture and make some stuff out of metal.
Cool.
And
that's awesome, man.
I got a guy sitting on a stool in my front yard, and his head is a drum.
Oh, I was actually just gonna ask you. Do you do any drum art?
And he's playing he's got a drumstick in each hand, and he's playing his head like a drum.
Nice.
But he's all made out of rusty metal and pipe.
That's cool, man. Send me a picture.
I will.
Send me a picture and I'll put it up so people can see it.
I did. I made a gazebo out of rebar.
Nice.
And
it's good to recycle too.
Yeah, it's kind of, I like that found art stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you made this out of that.
Cool, man.
And
yeah, I had no idea. Yeah. Welding, that's a good thing to know how to do probably, right?
Yeah.
You can make any little kind of tool you need or piece kind of missing like piece in your house.
Well, a few years ago, a doctor told me they were going to put a defibrillator in me.
Oh, okay.
And they go, you can't weld. And my face just kind of...
Oh, because the electricity?
Why couldn't they tell me I can't work? You can't work. You can do anything else but not work. That would have been great. But they go, you can't weld. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, was that a problem? And I'm like, well, I do it for a living. You know, I do it on my job. And it's kind of a hobby of mine, and it was going to be part of my retirement. So she says, let me cancel this, and let me do a little research. I think she was hip to this alternate style that they had, so they did this other style one. And I kind of snuck up on it. It took me a couple years to I just got frustrated and go, I had a guy welding for me.
Okay.
And he was terrible, so I was, give me that, And
so is it the risk of shock?
But
then you'd have to touch it, right?
Yeah,
that's gonna hurt you anyways.
Well, I don't know exactly what the
magnetic field or something.
The generator, the magnetic field, like high frequency welding, like TIG welding, is supposed to be really, don't be around that. Don't do that.
Oh man.
So I just, I do some wire feed and some stick welding, and I'm not real good, but.
Sure. Is your health holding up these days?
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm probably healthier than I'm definitely healthier than I was.
You had like a heart attack at one point?
I didn't have a heart attack. I just had it was more of like an electrical glitch.
Oh, geez. Maybe it was all the welding you were doing. Maybe the magnetic field messed with you.
There was some damage done from some medical treatment years earlier.
Oh, I see.
Like 20 or 30 years earlier.
Fix one thing and then something else breaks.
Exactly.
It's like your house.
Yeah. And so, we played a gig at the club, as we call it. And the one guy in the band handed out these key fobs to everybody, like you start your car or you unlock your car doors with. Sure. But they all said drummer restart on them. So that was the big joke, my first gig back after I had the defibrillator surgery. And they go, funny. Anybody sees Randy nodding off, just hit the button. That was the big joke. Friends
hilarious.
Like that, what else do you need?
Oh man, you're a lucky guy.
Yeah, I am. I'm a lucky guy. Dodged a bullet and got a bunch of great friends.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad you're doing well, and yeah, I mean, we can even do this again at some point. Yeah, you're pretty local, and you're gonna be out for the.
I don't get in here as often.
We should do a group one with like me, you, my dad, maybe like
a round table.
Yeah, like one of the myriad different people that you mentioned from the drum show. I've got a couple more microphones I can hook up, I think, and yeah, it'll be right during the drum show. The temperature in here will be perfect.
Yeah.
A little chilly right now, but
it's not. It could be worse.
Yeah,
could
for
be
sure.
Worse.
But yeah, Randy, anything else you want to get into, or?
Yeah, it's your show.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of bases here.
It's just like, as far as what I think, it's opinions. Everybody's got one, So
sure.
It's just I do what I do, and everybody should just do what they do.
Yeah.
And I like collecting drums, and I like hanging out with my friends. Having friends that collect drums, that makes it even better, And so like I say, anybody that listens to this, come to the Chicago Drum Show and introduce yourself. You know,
Yeah.
it's a great time.
Randy will have a booth, and then we'll have a booth where we're not going to bring too much stuff. And we usually just buy stuff.
Yeah.
Do you buy a lot? You don't buy. It's everything.
I used to buy a lot.
Yeah.
I used to buy a lot more. And what was funny was years ago at the drum show, club date kits, tricks on kits, standard kits, you couldn't give them away.
Yeah.
They're all the hottest thing now.
Yeah.
And sure. He's just like, you can buy one for $300 all day long.
Right.
And now, you know.
Maybe it's just there's a limited supply.
Well, it's just people finally got hip to them.
Yeah.
You know, they got hip to how good the tricks on kits were. You know,
sure.
And how good the club date kits were and stuff, you know, and the standard kits, you know.
Yeah, man.
But,
even Ludwig standards, you can even do pretty well on those.
Yeah, they seem to be. You know, I had a couple that were beautiful.
Those are imports, like
no, they were American made.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I always thought that.
I think that was when they started importing the hardware. You know, had those round, like what became the rocker lug.
So they were just
3-ply shells.
Interesting.
Yeah, but much lighter hardware, which I think opens them up a lot more. Yeah, somebody said they were B shells.
And they were trying to compete with Pearl export.
Right, they were trying to compete with all the import stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
it's interesting. Yeah. But they just couldn't with the price. It was, and then later, so the rockers though, those would have been made overseas probably.
I think the later ones were.
Okay.
I don't think the earlier ones.
I get all these in here, and I always just kind of assumed that it was.
Yeah, the standards were, you know, they had their own line of finishes.
Yeah, I learn new things every day. I just recently learned that the Rogers 380 was made by Yamaha.
I could see that.
R380. And there's an R360 and there's an R380.
I had an 18-12-14 Blue Ripple kit.
Okay.
A 360 kit or 380. It was 360 kit, I think it was.
I don't even know the difference. I had 380, but they seem like
you look
they're the same.
You look inside the drums though. It looks like the Japanese kits with the vertical grain instead of the horizontal grain.
Yeah.
And I went to buy a drum set, and the girl was moving up from this little set to a bigger set.
Right.
And I bought this Blue Ripple 18-12-14, and of course I got rid of it because who would play an 18-inch bass drum? I wish I had it now. You know?
Yeah, that's actually probably hard to come by. I think the 360s maybe those were because this one that I saw, it was a 380, and it actually had the Yamaha. What was really cool about it, their signature thing is that instead of, you know, each ply has like segmented. their ply, instead of being cut like that, it's at an angle.
Yeah.
And this kit had that.
Huh.
So it was very obviously made by what's it called? Yamaha.
Yeah.
Very surprising, very cool.
I never. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta get a drink of water. But yeah, man. Yeah, we're probably signing off here. You know.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and come to the drum show.
Yeah, we'll see you at the drum show.